Hello, it's Kristen. Today is Sunday, May 3rd. I think it's the 3rd. And I've decided to vlog Manifest. I am going to be graduating from Minerva in about 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks. And so those 3 weeks leading up to it, I decided to vlog. Maybe a weekly vlog. Hopefully. So for the first week, I'm going to be taking you along on my journey of going to classes led by other students about their capstones. And I'll talk more about that later, but I wanted to also show you everything else going on in my life during this week. Which includes the fact that yesterday I was hired for a new job working in service industry, food specifically, because that's what's still open. And so today I need to do a couple of things. I need to go to Walmart to get a few things that I need to meet like uniform regulations for that job. And I need to read the prospecti, whatever, of the 3 students whose classes I'm going to tomorrow on Monday. So let's get going. Oh my goodness. I get so hot underneath this thing. But there were so many people in there not wearing masks, getting all up in everybody else's business. Also, there's a couple things I did not successfully locate because, yeah, I had a hard time with belts because they either looked too decorative or they didn't seem like they would fit. Yeah, so I didn't get a belt, which is the main thing I still need. I might also need a lock, like for a locker that I'm gonna get. But I feel like I should have one at home, so I'm gonna see if I can find one in my desk or something. And then if not, I might try like a dollar store for that. I think that's it for our adventure. I might do an online order for a few things. I also got pants, but the fitting rooms were closed in Walmart, which, like, fair enough. So I need to try on those pants, and then if they don't fit, I'm gonna have to bring them back. And I might order more pants online, even if they do fit, just because I'm low on pants. That's pretty much it. Okay, I'm gonna drive home now and pay attention to the road. I'm home. Let's do a quick haul. My one bag from Walmart. I just got home and then I realized my mom texted me and told me to bring home bread, and I did not buy any freaking bread because I didn't see it. Got black pants. This is the one thing I'm very nervous about whether it will fit. You're gonna find out faster than I am though. And I've got socks that cover my ankles. Apparently that's important in the food business. And then I got undershirts. These are men's size medium. I'm hoping that works. To put under my uniform shirt because they only give me one uniform shirt and I'm like, I want to keep it in good shape. I want to maybe be able to wear it 2 days back to back if I have to. So this should keep it from becoming too gross. Let's see if they fit. You can probably see how much it's pinching me right here. So I think the pants, even though they went on, are a little too small. I don't think I'd want to wear them. The shirt is super good though. Pretty fitted, but not like too tight. Pretty perfect. And then my socks cover my ankles, but I think the pants are a no. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna probably order a couple things online. Okay, y'all, change of plans. I had been looking at pants on Macy's.com, but Macy's.com is currently down, like completely. So I've decided that I'm going to go to Target to look for pants and a belt. But I think I'm gonna go tomorrow, because it's almost 2 p.m. and I still need to read to get ready for the classes I have to go to tomorrow, which is what I'm going to do now. It's what I'm looking at. So I'm going to 3 classes tomorrow. I'm going to read you the titles of the different prospectuses, and then I think I'm going to tell you about both the prospectus and like how the classes were tomorrow probably, to like try and give you an idea of what's like happening in these things. But the titles of what I'm reading today are 1. Depressed? ? Reach out to someone you hate. period. And then the subtitle is A Theoretical Proposal, an Artistic Exploration of Psychotherapeutic Intervention to Mood Disorders Rooted in Socio-Political Dialogue. So that sounds like a lot. The next one is a mathy one. It's called Dancing in the Dark, Determining the Quality of Causal Inference Methods Without Access to Ground Truth. Can you hear that? Somebody's zipping up the street on a motorcycle. And the last one is called Neuropathic Pain and Microglia. I'm not sure if I said that right. A Path Forward for More Targeted Treatment. So I've got like one psychology one math one, and one more like sciencey one, as opposed to just like the psychology sciencey side of things. So I'm gonna read those. Probably also gonna shower at some point. And then if I shower though, I should probably shower soon, because I like to have time before the sun goes down on days that I shower, when my hair will be dry enough and look good enough for me to film a couple of TikToks. While we're on the subject of my hair, look at this. You see this blue? Well, my new job does not allow for blue hair. I had already been planning to do this, but it's been kind of like delayed because of everything being shut down. I'm planning to cut off all the blue, and then I wanted to go like platinum, blonde, ashy blonde, maybe a little silver. I guess now I probably can't go a little silver, so it'll just be like ashy blonde for now. But while I am going to be able to accomplish a haircut with us being pretty shut down here, I'm not going to be able to accomplish a bleach job. So I'm gonna have like natural hair for a while, and I started having like a whole crisis about it last night, and so I decided that when I get it cut by one of my mom's friends, to remain unnamed, I'm going to have her give me an undercut back here, kind of like Haley Kiyoko. Insert image. I want it to just be shaved below my ears, like about here I think, so that you really can't tell when any of my hair is down, because I'm thinking that for work, I think it'll be short enough that I don't have to put it all up, because it's like if it hits your collar, you have to get it all up. But I think I'm gonna do it kind of like half up, half down, so that it's out of my face, but I don't have to worry about the scragglies, you know? If I were to try to put it all up into a ponytail of some sort. That transformation is coming on Wednesday, so we have that to look forward to. I guess I'll probably go to Target tomorrow, so I've kind of got like at least one thing kind of fun, kind of neat going on every day on top of going to my classes. I might check in with you later, or I might just see you tomorrow morning at fucking 7 a.m. because that's when I have to go to class. Okay, so that was me trying to film the beginning of a like transformation TikTok for after I get my hair done. But now I think I might try to learn a dance, and this is where I film my dances, because the lighting is always chill over here. But I don't know if there's a great place for me to put this camera. Yes. Usually I go more that way, but we can do here today because I think this is a little better. There's a Scooby-Doo thing trending on TikTok right now, and Scooby-Doo is literally my favorite. I have been obsessed with Scooby-Doo since I was a child. I dressed up as Scooby-Doo himself for Halloween twice. The second time, I also made my best friend dress up as Scooby-Doo with me. So I'm gonna learn a Scooby-Doo TikTok dance right now. Sometimes it takes 2 sessions to really understand a dance, so I'm gonna go in, watch it and think about it, and then try again. Okay. Thank you. Please, very early morning. The daughters. Oh. Oh my god, this is... Yeah. I guess I want us to be able to, like, recognize when what we're saying and doing is based out of emotion, and I wish that we could communicate those emotions better to one another, because I feel like I can see now that what you told me to do was said mostly out of fear, but at the time I didn't understand the potential downsides or costs to my decision, because I was so focused on the upsides I felt in making that decision to look my best, to feel my best, to feel like I was expressing myself, to not feel like I had to hide myself. And I think it might have been better for me if you could have explained why you were afraid. And I think also now, with this having happened, I want you to understand that I just feel very unsafe and hurt right now, and it would be a lot more helpful to me if you were able to offer some way to help me feel safe, instead of perpetuating my own, like, feeling of fear after this has happened. Yeah, I feel like we're using sort of a way of structuring our statements that's often recommended by, like, therapists, and that really tries to de-escalate by being like, I feel blank because blank, and in the because specifically avoiding blaming the other person, like not saying because you did something wrong, because you're stupid or anything like that, but being more like, because of how this has happened and, like, my sort of reaction to that. And I think the sort of hashtag composition of your statements is really important here, because that framing makes it so that you're, like, centering your emotions and not so much saying you blame the other person for their actions. Sure. So I talked about how the idea is kind of to mix the idea of sociopolitical with the idea of a dialogue, and so in any sort of therapeutic dialogue, I think that's more what we did, was just about, like, explaining our emotions and trying to understand each other's emotions. But I think to truly make it a socio-political dialogue, we would have to move to recognizing the hashtag power dynamics of the situation and sort of taking it to the societal hashtag level of analysis, and recognizing that the basis, like, very deep underlying these emotions and these reactions and these different ideas we have about how this situation should be handled are based in societal norms and societal expectations of how these two characters should act based on their gender, and that has a very large impact on what happened. And I think if you are able to progress it to that level, it does a better job of hashtag bias mediation. I think that's what it's called now. Because it helps both parties to see and understand the other side of that, like, society level conflict. Thank you. Good job. Done with my first class. Okay, so it's now 8 a.m. I survived one class, but I have another one in 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go get some water, and I think I probably won't film myself for the next several classes, but now you know what it looks like. But I'll chat to you later after I'm done with all 3 that I had today about what they were about and how they went. This one was pretty good, pretty fun, a little cringy at times, but the topic was pretty cool, and I ended up feeling like I learned something, so. Hello, it is now exactly 11 a.m. and I have finished going to classes for today. I actually finished half an hour ago, but I decided to hop in the shower. I didn't wash my hair today, but I feel cleaner. And now I must get ready for tomorrow. But before that, I guess I'll tell you what my classes today were like. So I went to 3. The first one was closest to like the area that I've studied, stuff that I'm more interested in, because it was sort of about how to have empathetic dialogue about significant events that would be significant enough to come up in a therapeutic setting, and how to have dialogue between different parties, and particularly trying to think about how those dialogues could progress to addressing like societal level differences between people and sort of conflicting identities, and how you could use that to reduce biases that people have around those identities. So like men and women, was sort of the situation we focused on, but you could also apply it to like race, ethnicity, nationality, and all kinds of other things. So that was a good class for me. The second class was on causal inference and sort of the problems you have when you're trying to build a model that claims X causes Y in this way, sort of how it's hard to verify that model, and also just talking about what causal inference is, which I have taken a course on Minerva that really focused on similar kinds of things, so that wasn't too groundbreaking, but was also a nice refresher, I guess, mainly. The third one was about cells, specifically pain that is caused by nerve damage, and how you will feel and perceive pain that is greater than what you should be perceiving based on like the external stimuli. The person's capstone had been about looking into ways to treat the underlying causes of that. So we kind of talked about some different models that exist and ways to test those models, which was somewhat interesting, but also, yeah, not like deeply engaging for me personally. But the classes all went okay. I feel like I spoke enough to get decent scores. So we're actually being graded this week on HCs, which are all of the concepts, habits and concepts, that's what HC stands for, that we learned in our first year. And so this week is sort of the last time we're being graded on those, because we've been graded on them all 4 years. And the idea is that we're trying to really reinforce those basic ideas by applying them to novel contexts. And so in order to get like a score for something for applying it in a novel context, you have to make it obvious that you are trying to apply it. So you kind of have to call out what HC you're trying to use. And so like in the first class where I was like in my element, I did really good with calling out a variety of HCs, but then in the other 2, I only called out an HC in our like reflection poll. So at the end of class, there's sort of a little question that you write a short response to that is supposed to like summarize your takeaways, what you learned. So in the second 2 classes, I only really called out an HC there, but that should be good enough because we just have to get at least 1 HC score in each class that we go to. And so now I'm going to open up the prospecti that I need to read for tomorrow. Tomorrow I also have class starting at 7 a.m. but tomorrow I actually have to go to 4 classes, and they're not all back to back. So I had 3 today. They were like back to back to back. Tomorrow I have 2 back to back in the first thing, and then I have a break, and then I actually teach my class, and then I have another break, and then I have 1 more. So tomorrow's kind of the big day. So I want to read all of those other prospectuses, and I think I might also re-peruse my own that I assigned as reading so that I can remember what page everyone showing up is going to be on. So that's just me sitting on my beanbag, or maybe moving out to the couch on my laptop, and then I think a little later I'm going to run to Target. I guess let's just insert some footage of me reading in my beanbag. Tomorrow I've got 2 more social sciencey ones and 1 business one. Camera battery's gonna die. Oh, the glare on my glasses is really bad. Sorry, no avoiding it. I am at Target. You can see the cards right there. I'm at Target to look for belt and pants. Probably shan't film while I'm in there. I might also look for some food because I realized today I have like no good lunch stuff. It's like 1 p.m. so hopefully it's not too busy, but there's kind of a decent amount of people moving around this parking lot, so I'm a little bit worried about it. But I'll probably just check in with y'all after I finish with the haul. Back here again to make a return. Hello, we're back at the beanbag. The Walmart trip was super freaking fast because they wouldn't let me return it. They're not taking clothing returns right now, but she told me they would take care of it once everything opened back up. So now, the Target haul. I got 2 pairs of pants at Target, and I suspect they have a similar policy about not taking clothing returns right now. So hopefully these ones fit. So I got these ones that are actually from the like plus size section, so they're technically a size above what I would usually get because I'm like right in between. But because that was my normal size and it was too small, I was like, I'm gonna just size up and then I can wear a belt, which is much more effective than too small. But so the cool thing about the plus size section on these is that the waistband itself is actually kind of stretchy. You might not be able to see it. Ah, there you go. So I'm very hopeful about these being quite comfy. And we have pair number 2, which are also a size up, but these are from a standard size section, so they're not quite as stretch designed, but they are, I think they might even be labeled as jeggings. They are labeled as jeggings, so they should be stretch and hopefully fit. If at least one of those fits, I'll be okay. And then I got my belt. It's actually a reversible belt. So this side is black and this side is gray. I have to wear the black side for work, but now I own black and gray. And I actually just picked this one because I thought it was the most basic buckle. I didn't really want anything fancy going on the buckle, but I feel like silver is acceptable. And finally, I got a new SD card with 128 gigs for this boy. So right now I kind of have use of 2 cameras, but technically one of them is mine and one of them is my parents'. But the thing is that during college, me and my parents kind of swapped so that they took the DSLR and I took the one that I'm currently filming on, which is a little more compact. The idea now, especially once I move out, is that we will switch back and I will take the DSLR and all of the lenses and my parents will take this compact one. But we only have 2 SD cards and they're not that big. One's a 16 gig, one's a 32 gig. And so now I have a 128, which will be especially good once I start filming on the DSLR because those videos can be higher definition and therefore take up more space. So I got that because it was pretty much the same price. I've seen it on Amazon, so I figured I'd just go for it. Also, funny story. I'm kind of sorry that this whole vlog is gonna be like stories from the beanbag, but it's just like not a thing to vlog in my hometown. It's a small place. I would not want to be in Target with a camera out. But so 2 people in Target thought that I was an employee. I guess because I'm wearing a polo. I don't know though, because I don't have a name tag. I was like looking through merchandise. It's not like I was shelving. 2 people tried to ask me a question and I totally fumbled how to reply because I was just like, what? Because the first person I didn't even hear the first time. And then I just said, what again? After I heard them because I didn't know how to reply. And then eventually I was like, no. And around that time is when she realized, oh, do you not work here? And I was like, no, I don't. So that was pretty terrible. But then it happened again. But that guy didn't assume I worked there. He asked, or he started to ask something, and then he was like, wait, do you work here? And then I was like, no. So that one wasn't as bad as the first one where the lady was like full on asking me a question and then I didn't hear her, so I said what, and then she asked it again. It was pretty terrible. So don't wear polo shirts to Target, I guess. I'm going to go try on my pants, and if they fit I might do a little fashion. So here we have the first pair. These are the standard size 16s. And I got short. I think it might have just been what I found, but I probably shouldn't have. So I put on my socks to make sure my ankles aren't horribly exposed, and I think it's alright. So these will be acceptable. And here are the second pair. These ones are the proper length. They don't look at all ridiculous. They're also like definitely loose at the waist. Like, I've got quite a bit of room. But, like I said, throw a belt in, all good. They're also not as tight on my legs, so they feel a little comfier. So, I feel like I might contemplate not taking the tags off the other ones to see if I'd be able to return them, but probably not right now, because I'm guessing Target is not taking returns right now. But if I do decide that I'd rather just wear them, they do fit, they're just too short. Now, it's like 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm super tired. But I've got to stay awake. No naps for me. Naps don't work out. So I think I might actually just start editing this video or other videos because I've already read my prospectuses for tomorrow. Yeah, so that might be it for today. I guess if I do anything besides sit on the couch, I'll let you know. Yeah, so our client is a supermarket in San Francisco. They sell groceries and household products in the store. For the past 3 years, its revenue has been decreasing and the supermarket is about to go out of business at this rate. They have come to us to look into what's happening with their stores and identify ways to grow the business. So, it is now 10:30. I went to 2 classes already this morning. And in 15 minutes, well, 12 minutes, I will be teaching my class. So I thought I would try to film this one more so that I can kind of show you the things I'm leading them through in teaching this class. And so let's do a quick just check-in on what the 2 classes I went to were. So the first one this morning was my first business majors class. I only took business classes this last semester, so I'm actually kind of like top of mind on the topics, but it was about consulting basically and applying problem solving to a business problem. It was pretty alright, but like... And then the second one was a more like social science and a little bit of philosophy one about the tragedy of the commons. If you don't know what that is, basically when people have a shared resource or a resource that's commonly available to everyone. Sorry, I'm trying to get my button. Basically, if one person was to act selfishly, they could ruin that resource for everyone else because it becomes depleted. So this is like if everyone's taking water out of this river, but somebody decides that they want to like dump their trash in it and then it's not usable for everyone else. That would be a tragedy of the commons. But our discussion was about, and his topic was about, how you can manage the commons to avoid said tragedy. So that was somewhat interesting, but a bit too abstract at times. I know it was kind of hard to go too deep on the example in the amount of time we had, but it was an interesting concept. And now it is almost time for me to teach, and I shall be teaching about gender. It's like 10 minutes before class, but I think I'm gonna hop in so that if my professor, that's my advisor, shows up, we can chat. And so I can get a feel for the professor controls in the forum, because I haven't used them too much before. Yeah, so I have like extra powers in the forum right now, including the lesson plan that I had to submit. So I already got graded on my lesson plan, and my capstone advisor put that lesson plan into the classroom, so I can actually like bring up slides and PDFs and polls and stuff like that. So that's cool. I'm here way too early, but I'm so nervous. I've been very nervous, mainly because like my role isn't to lecture or to like teach. My role is to like facilitate a discussion, so how well this goes really depends on everyone else. But as my advisor pointed out to me, people are very motivated to be participating well, because we are getting graded on this, and those grades impact not only our grades for this 1 month Manifest grades, they also impact our first year grades in a pretty significant way, because they're weighted times 8, which in a normal class your like in-class grades are only weighted times 1. And also most HCs are able to qualify for transfer, which basically that just means if I don't tell them to use the HC but they use it, and if they succeed in using it, so if they get at least a 3 on our 5-point scale, that contributes to an additional part of their first year grades. So people are fairly motivated, and also it's just 1 hour. It's gonna be fine. I'm kind of worried though. It is reassuring to me though, because I've gone to 5 classes already, and none of those have gone like terribly. Even when in my first class the person leading it had like all kinds of Wi-Fi and tech issues, the class still went pretty well. And that person had the same capstone advisor as me, so I know my capstone advisor will like help me out if stuff's going bad. Also, I don't think I'm really graded on how well this is facilitated, so like honestly the people in the class should care more than I do. I think it's more, I'm kind of stressed because it's slightly controversial talking about gender, and I'm also just kind of worried about people being highly opinionated, because if I don't agree with their strong opinions in a normal class I would kind of like detach myself a little bit, but because I'm leading the discussion I have to engage with it more. There are now 5 minutes till class. I've been just talking to my camera for like 7 minutes. I'm going to turn off the camera for a second and maybe go take a little stroll to the kitchen and back. Hello. It is very poorly lit. Kristen of the future here. I have a hat on to hide my hair reveal, which is coming on Wednesday. I'm checking in because I have decided that the next 15 minutes of this video are going to be like straight up everything that I said while I was facilitating my class. I think it's kind of interesting. If you're really interested in Minerva, you really want to know how some of us, me, sound during class, what sort of questions are asked, what sort of like techniques are used to guide the discussion, so on and so forth. So I've decided to leave that in, and for that reason this video is only going to be the first half of the first week of Manifest, where I originally thought it would be the whole first week, but that would just be obscene. So I'm going to put timestamps. This is how long that class is just going to be going on, and then I'm going to show the tiny bit I filmed after that on Tuesday still of the 4th class I went to that day. But then we're going to end at Tuesday, and me, Kristen from the future, will be back to wrap up this part. No, that's perfect. I mean, today we're going to get into the example of gender, so it'll all continue to evolve. Okay, so here's the explicit learning goal. We're going to try to define gender. That's the main focus today. So I wanted to go over some key terminology before we get started. Can somebody talk about the difference between sex and gender? Yeah, so it sounds like you're basically saying sex is limited to the biological level, whereas gender encompasses multiple levels. Michaela, did you have anything you wanted to add on to that? Yeah, so that's good. We've started to talk about some of the ideas everyone has about what gender is. So we're going to dive into the first activity, which is the only activity, which is discussing gender at different levels of analysis to develop our definitions. So to start this off, we are going to do, why is, you have to fix it then. Okay, so for this poll, I just want you guys to put in what you really define gender as. It can be informed by the prospectus, it can be informed by your own ideas, your own other reading and experiences, just to see where everyone's at the beginning of this. About 15-20 more seconds, enough to wrap it up. I'm gonna end the poll. Precious, if you can't get yours in, you can put it in chat, since I saw you had some tech issues. Okay, let's take a minute. I want everyone to just scroll through the responses, try to look at a couple, and I'd like to have at least one person maybe point out a answer that brings up something they haven't thought about as much. So just throw up a hand or a check if you find something interesting. Yeah, Sarah, go for it. Yeah, thank you. So now we're going to do another quick poll. This is multiple choice, just to help us structure the discussion a little bit more. So I just want to know which level of analysis you think you focused on in your answer, or if you maybe mentioned multiple, which a lot of you did, maybe which one you think is the most important, even if that wasn't exactly what came across in your poll. Cool, so we have a very nice spread, which is excellent. So I'm going to just call on somebody from each of these groups to start off by telling us why they focused on that level and what they think that level contributes, and then we'll dig into some of these interactions more. So starting on the biological level, Brian, why don't you tell us why you picked that one? Yeah, I think that's totally fair, that this is sort of what we're often told is the entire basis of gender. Yes, I remember. So this is sort of what West and Zimmerman talk about in regards to sex category, is that there's sort of this implied, people assume what your biology is. And Micah, you also picked biology. I'm wondering how you think about trans individuals when you're thinking about gender being focused a lot on biology. Yeah, I guess what I was just trying to pull out is that some trans people choose to change their biology, so to change their sex characteristics on a very physical level, and other people don't necessarily, but they're often regarded in society as trans nonetheless, or sometimes they're only regarded as trans when they change their biology. But I think that was a good segue into the individual level. So Giovanna, do you want to tell us what you think the significance of the individual level is when we're thinking about gender? Yeah, so I think that's a really good way of just framing what we're talking about at that level. I think I want to quickly just get an impression of the other two levels and then dive into more of a discussion. So let's see. Connor, can you tell us why you chose social and what you think social level contributes to thinking about gender? Yeah, I definitely agree, and that was a good explanation. So going on to the societal level, let's see. Mika, why don't you tell us how gender is perceived, or what the meaning of gender is at the societal level? Yeah, I think that was a great way to go into trying to talk about how these levels relate to one another, and sort of how perhaps our individual choices and how that impacts us in social interactions manifests into these societal ideas. So let's just keep going with that, keep building on interactions if we can. Izzy, go ahead. Yeah, great. Yasmin, go ahead, out on that. Yeah, I think that's great. Let's definitely dig into more why do people want these categories, and sort of what are the benefits both now and historically, of having the idea of gender. Tony, hopefully that's related to what you wanted to say. Yeah, I think it's good to remember that while we're talking about this as a very like social and societal level concept, it is based in like very real biological differences, and that's not always a bad thing. So, Micah, what did you want to add? So, I want to, at least for a little bit, explicitly think about transgender people and people who do not identify, do not express the gender that aligns with the sex that they were born as. And I think, in particular, how can we use these levels to think about how transgender people help us to understand the separation between gender and sex, and then also how we can use these levels to understand why transgender people have such a hard time in society. Yeah, Mika, go ahead. Yeah, I think that those are both good points to bring up when we're starting to think about transgender people. Maybe to make this a little more concrete, let's say we agree that a transgender person has decided on the individual level that they want to present themselves with the opposite gender of what they were born as. How do we think about how that impacts them and manifests at the social level? Iman, would you be able to take that? Or yeah, great. I think you did a great job there of tying in sort of like why we as individuals are so attached to these societal ideas and how they do impact us in those direct social interactions. Also, just a side note, the term for somebody who's not very masculine or feminine is usually androgynous, if you didn't know that, if that helps us talk about it more. Mika, Mikaela, what did you want to add? Yeah, that one. Yeah, that is definitely very valid, and I think this might be a good time to throw in another idea that many people who are transgender are diagnosed with like the mental illness or the problem via therapy of gender dysphoria, which is sort of that result you're talking about where they're being reinforced for the gender that at the individual level they don't identify with, and that can lead to like a lot of tension within themselves and often is associated with like depression and higher suicide rates and things like that. Lots of hands. Tony, what did you want to add? I'm gonna just go across. Yeah, I think it's kind of been touched on by Amon and the idea of passing. So like they're so motivated to just be like seen as a woman that they might perform it in an overly exaggerated way. Mika, it looks like you raised your hands at that, so I'll let you go ahead. Yeah, I mainly just brought it up because like I know in some healthcare systems you have to be diagnosed with that in order to qualify to get like sex reassignment surgery, so it's sort of still regarded in that way, at least in some countries. Just to try and clarify, but yeah, I'm not super clear on the medical terms here. Sarah, what did you want to add? Yeah, thank you. I'm going to take these last two comments from Precious and Geo, and then we're going to have to head towards closure. So, Geo, what did you want to add? Yeah, that's definitely a good complication to point out, is that it is influenced by those societal level definitions, which is why a lot of people medically think of like transgender people as only the ones that want to change their biology, when currently a lot of trans people don't like transition physically, or they identify as non-binary and don't do any sort of shifting fully from man to woman, and that's like something that is like a point of contention for a lot of people defending one side or the other. Precious, what did you want to add? Yeah, so I wanted to jump to a quick closure moment. Does somebody want to offer the idea, the beginning of a definition for gender that incorporates some things that we talked about that weren't in your original poll answer? I'm gonna wait for a hand on this. Yes, Yasmin, give it a shot. I think you put a lot of ideas out there, which was good. You also started like transferring towards thinking about the ethics of gender and sort of like how should gender be, which is definitely, I think, the logical next step. But if nobody else wants to make a major contribution, I wanted to jump into the reflection poll to give y'all a chance to try and transfer some HCs. Yes, this might be outdated because I pulled this from my capstone class from junior year, you know? But yeah, how would you design a study to try and investigate one of these levels, investigate interactions between these levels, or to otherwise try and expand evidence to support this definition of gender that we're proposing, and maybe try to use NHC. Just a couple more minutes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cool. Okay, I want Tony, tell us what you were talking about and what you have in mind. Yeah, I think that's a great thing that could be investigated with a study. Let's go ahead and just do a little chit-chat wrap-up. I wanted to know what you guys are thinking about how this affects you and how maybe having this discussion will or won't change how you think about gender of other people, of yourself, in your lives. I think the general idea is that the higher deciles see an increase while the lower ones see a decrease in their income. Maybe I'm a little confused about the graph. I was mainly looking at the differently colored lines and seeing that the top ones had a slight increase and the bottom ones had a slight decrease, but I'm not sure what the bar charts are saying, so maybe if you could explain that would be helpful.
It's all in my head. If I drink enough, I swear that I will wake up next to you. I don't need to be who I am yet. I don't need to have a plan yet.
Yeah, so I tried to think more of like the ethical issue here and like, is it right to let cities to grow when we know that the larger this fractal system is, the more inequality there is, and it actually decreases the income and therefore likely the quality of life for people on the lower side of that income scale. And so I sort of said you could use these networks to make an argument that we should try to divide up cities in a way that is real enough to separate the networks. So for example, you might try to give like the Bronx its own governing body, like its own police, its own transportation agency, etc., to make it more of an independent network rather than letting it be the like one of the nodes, or I guess one of the like clusters that is on the poorer side within the whole New York network. Thank you. I did it. That was my 4th class today. So I'm now done with going to class today and I just have to read for class tomorrow. Yeah, I'm super tired. I think I might eat some junk food now. But like yesterday, how I kind of ended up just doing nothing with the rest of my day, I think that's what's gonna happen today after I read my papers. Yeah. Also, my camera battery is dying, so we can chat more later. And it's Kristen from the future back at it again. I'm not that far in the future. It's currently Wednesday, and you're watching the Tuesday vlog end. But so yeah, that's the first just 3 days basically of my Manifest experience. I really am enjoying documenting the whole thing. I think it's gonna be very cool to look back on, and I think it's going to be like the most in-depth look at Minerva academics that I'm ever going to be able to show on this channel. So I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you stick around for the rest of the ride, because yeah, there's going to be a bunch of vlogs going up this month I originally planned 3, 1 per week, but now at least the first week is getting split into 2 videos. But I think the second and third week might still just be 1 video each, but I'm not sure. But yeah, subscribe, leave comments, like it if you liked it. Yeah. Bye.